Okay, I'm ready. And we're live on YouTube. So let's, want me to count it down? Ready. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome to Matrix Body Mechanics Live. I am your host, Micah Sky. It's a pleasure to be enjoying, exploring, preparing on another Monday into the unknown. We're broadcasting on YouTube Live and People for People Radio. And you can catch that broadcast on People for People Radio online on our site. There's a chat room in there. We have a very interesting show today, kind of last minute in some of it. And I just want to apologize ahead of time because I'm doing my best. This is the most creatively restricted I have been with the number of creative little beings I've created in terms of children in the midst of such a great time where I feel such a commitment to getting the information out. So last week we had some technical difficulties on the YouTube live channel where our visuals, our graphics didn't come up. So I've been editing that entire show. It's almost done. I'm going to put it back out and kind of updated it with some of the things that have taken place this week, which we'll also be reviewing today. And I'm just going to pause at one point and make sure that our visuals are actually going right now. It looks like we're good. And I am gonna just check over and make sure that we are gonna check the change of graphics on this one. Make sure that it's flipping. And if anyone wants to get in the chat room ever, hop in, give me some sound checks. Always appreciated. Perfect. Okay, I can see that we are good to go. All right. So our overall focus at Matrix Body Mechanics Live is to not only go through current events, giving a larger, more transpersonal, objective perspective, because knowledge truly is power in times of great change, but also to give you applicable knowledge and wisdom, not just mental knowledge and wisdom, but true knowledge and wisdom that is based in the true knowledge that has been kept from our people. And this is a time of great awakening from that into a higher evolutionary ascension process, which we've been in for quite some time, but it's accelerating, and there are some very great cosmic events coming, and they come in waves. So we tend to think of things like the movies, which is also part of our programming and conditioning. It's very theatrical and dramatic with a large finale. And, for instance, the earth changes depicted in films and movies would look like some form of a massive series of events that starts and you're just following the action through it. And there are great earth changes that have been happening for the last 20 years. I've been tracking them along with a lot of other individuals. I've had a weird and fascinating compulsion to know what's going on in this living organism and studying its great changes before, and looking within the cosmic clock and the ancient knowledge that's really been kept from us and isolated to a select few, to understand what we're really in and what's going on, and maybe what we've been supposed to be preparing for quite some time. And that is a big part of what's also been kept from us, because it's not wanted that we be prepared, and they've worked diligently to try to toxify us and compromise our ability to be prepared on all levels, both in this purified baptism of the body and mind, in preparation for great energetic shifts that are a magical honor to be alive for. And if you could imagine an alternative perspective, imagine a civilization that was preparing for thousands of generations for this great event that you happen to be alive for. So our overall goal is to give you a body, an understanding of a tree of practices that are part of the divine engineering of your higher way of living, from human to being. The word human being is 2 words. And so our goal is to give you practices and understanding Well, foundationally, that your life should be about practice and service to your vehicle because it's designed to work better, just like brushing your teeth. When you brush your teeth, you are clearing all of the food and bacterial accumulation each day, and therefore keeping your teeth um, healthy and functional and at an optimal level of health throughout your entire life, as long as you choose to be here, which is the thing. We have a very warped understanding of even what it is, the human lifespan. Your body can regenerate every 11 months. So roughly every year, you can regenerate all your cells, and so you'll never age really. Or you can regenerate every 7 years and have a lower optimal functionality to your body and have a shorter lifespan in which you keep reincarnating over and over and over, trapped in a cycle of not really progressing as quickly as we could as a whole, collectively, not just individually, but all of us together. So in that regard, one of the foundational pieces is getting out of that left brain into the right brain, because, well, first you have to realize that you've been indoctrinated and conditioned to go into your left brain, into this logic, into the reason, into also ideas, theoretical concepts, ideas being like seeds that get planted that can create perspective, especially if an entire population accepts an idea. So we've been warped away from the left hemisphere of the brain, and the right hemisphere is where the higher levels of circuitry and also physiological, the higher processes to create and activate this yearly regeneration process comes from manipulating the electromagnetic energy up the body to activate, arcing through the third, fourth ventricles of the brain. Um, Literally, there is a series of physiological, structural, mechanical responses to create these sacred secretions that combine, ultimately producing colostrum, which regenerates all of the tissue as it gravity pulls it down the spine, and it goes along all the nerves and regenerates the two coat proteins of the nerves, and regenerates your system. And this is something that you can do, should be doing regularly, these practices, but once a year, tied to the electromagnetic pull, the magnetism of our sun, which is connected to the magnetism of our energy, this kundalini energy, this slumbering energy that was really dormant and made dormant because humanity wasn't ready for it, but it is awakening because we are getting closer anyways. So that connection, that dynamic polarization ties, you can sync it to the sun. And for the winter solstice, as that sun sits idle for 3 days, and then the torsion of the sun moving as it rises, you sync your energy, and it produces a more advanced version where the body can fully replenish itself each year. And instead, we're conditioned to sit around a tree with lights going up it, representative, of course, in some twisted, childlike, dumbed down version of a tree with light going up it, which is the Christmas tree we all put material presents around. That truly is this light tree in each one of us to take this sacred anointing process. And part of that, again, like I said, the gateway is through the right hemisphere of the brain, which interestingly, we are more engaged into the left hemisphere of the brain throughout our institutionalized education systems. And as we practice, or we're supposed to be practicing this for eons, great alignments would come that would magnify the process, and it would magnify this anointing process tenfold, like super upgrade, which would on some level give each species and each realm, if you will, or we'll say dimensional existence, as we start going deeper and deeper, an upgrade, an energetic boost, so to speak. And especially if it came on a transitional period of a shift, of a seasonal shift of ages, which we are upon right now, from the iron into the bronze age. We are moving out of this dark to middle age period over the last 6,000 years. And if you look through the ancient calendars, each civilization goes through a rise and a fall of this precipice of its excellence in these golden ages. And we've been in the darker, the Kali Yuga, if you will, in the Vedas. all leading up to this day, this event. December 21st is when it begins. And like I said, the sacred process, depicted as an allegorical metaphor through many sacred books, including our Bible, is really to show you the process that humans were supposed to be doing individually, as Christ speaks about it so much, that I just paved the way. I showed you how to take your body through this sacred anointing process and transcending the flesh. This sacred process I've been studying for 20 years, and many of us thought it was 2012 that this would initially come, but that actually marked the last 8 years of the full cycle to close in 2020, which was, again, all information that came out as we progressed, expanding our awareness. So in this platform, our overall focus is to prepare you for this. Obviously, we get into what else there is in terms of what's around us, what's going on in the collective consciousness on a planetary level with the plots of awakening. But we want to always bring it back to these core functions here. These are the 9 cosmic divine practices. We went through this last week, and I'm actually I want to announce we're going to be doing a progressive program up until this date. I was just really guided to do this because we were setting up a localized one, and I was like, we just need to do this on a virtual level, which is setting up this however many weeks until the 21st of December. We're coming up on, I think it's like 6 weeks up until around. So we're going to do this consistently each week, going through these 9 divine, basically cosmic practices that humans were supposed to get the intel, the instruction manual to go through. And some of them you will know. We made them 9 in the ancient times. 2 would be included in 1. So it would be a sacred 7 practices. But the dancing and the singing, we're separating to individualize them in a culture that is shifting and isn't so based in the understanding of spiritual practices and religions. Because in the yogic sciences, the dancing and the singing or the sound and the chanting would all be incorporated. So technically, we want to include those all in that. And this is kind of a bridge where we can bring in more contemporary culture around singing and dancing, and then introduce it to the true kind of authentic sound and frequency and dance expression, which could be in between a Kundalini or a yogic science set. We actually get up and actually dance and move the body for 10 minutes straight while doing breath work. Or we spend a period of time just going through the 5 sounds that you can make from your instrument. So these are all practices that we can explore the root fundamentals of the spiritual side of the sciences, and where sound and movement integrates into cultural expression and artistic expression. So real quick, we'll just go through them. Number 1, we're just living food diet. You eat life, you add to the life. You eat death, you add to the death of the body. Going through a deeper understanding of how to incorporate in your lifestyle as you prepare the body for this great period where, it is said in many ancient cultures that the energy, the heightened electromagnetic radiation energy, will be so high that it will be extremely activating for those that don't have toxicity in their body, metals, chemical residues, chemical memory, trauma, emotion is also held chemically. It becomes heavy. That's why the weight of the world literally is the neurochemical residue, which we address a lot in Matrix Body Mechanics. That was kind of our initial intro to the public, to talk about that you hold everything that physically and emotionally happens to you in your vessel. So preparing the body in that regard. The yogic sciences, number 2, breath work and Kundalini training your Kundalini to start moving and awakening, because the heightened energies. And remember, this is a cosmic event that's coming, but at the same time, there is a window that leads into a 6-month window almost that leads into a cosmic shift, and then a 6-month window that you kind of fade out of. That a lot of transformational awakening happens all the way up to and then progressively after. And also, we're moving through a heightened photonic belt of light for, I think, 1,000+ years. So we're just integrating into these energies. But the preparing of us individually here in our realm, in our reality, for these energies that we have no clue for the most part of, is integral now. That's why, and these sciences are so powerful that they were almost designed in your engineering, that it was almost foreseen that you would fall to ignorance of preparing for them. So even if you did them for a short period of time before, they're that powerful that they could start preparing your nervous system and your psyche, your psychophysical, psychospiritual side of what it is to experience a change and a shift in reality, whatever that looks like. Number 3, singing and chanting. And number 4, playing music and instruments. These are both, they're engaging the right brain. So each one of these design basic functions are also engaging. I'm going to focus on the right brain they're engaging, but really what they're also doing is they are engaging more of a synergy between right and left. Eventually, it's about stimulating both hemispheres and finding a harmony and a balance within that. But instruments especially are going to engage that right brain. So I haven't dropped this yet because we're kind of just going right into, I'm trying to get through a lot of what we're going to do in the first half. And remember, as I said, YouTube Live viewers, appreciate you all for logging on. If you feel this will help anyone, or anyone is ready for this information, feel free to subscribe or share. And we actually have an interesting last minute guest that's on kind of a fringe branch of some of the darker operations that have been worked that are coming to an end, but it's a relevant look at the effects and also the need for the exposure of some of this as it comes out around some of these mind control programs like the MK Ultra and whatnot. And some of those fringe programs worked along the lines of AI and hybridizing humans to AI, especially children with certain conditions, mild autism, things like that. So actually, came across an individual who sadly his girlfriend's life was taken as she was part of one of these programs, and she was taken out through the way that they were able to access her psyche, and she took her own life sadly. So he had reached out to me and we have been speaking, and he's actually so he is so serious about the level of this information that he doesn't feel comfortable to come on as a guest, even to speak with a voice modulator. So he doesn't trust any of the network lines and platforms. So the one that he's vetted that's secure, I'm going to be interfacing off of this device. And actually, later on in the second hour, he's going to come on live and answer any questions if anyone wants to ask anything. But I'm going to just go through our exchange via message. There's no reason to re-message that live with him and share, because he really kind of broke down a good perspective into it. And then from there, if there's any questions, he'll come on and answer with me later on. So I just wanted to preface with that. We're only doing a shorter segment that's kind of more absorbable and not doing the full broadcast on People for People on YouTube Live anymore, because I'm trying to reach more people, and people tend to be overwhelmed, sadly, with something that's over 30 minutes or even an hour, or especially 2 hours. So I'm trying to keep a shorter version on the YouTube platform, and then I will put out the rest of it later, edited together, and you can also access it on People for People radio. You can hear the podcast that's usually up the next day for the remainder of what we're going through. So just trying to create a more private platform to share certain information and that I won't share publicly, because even from what he's expressed, that he feels that my YouTube will get banned really quickly if I start talking about a few aspects of this. So that will be later on in the broadcast. But jumping back into the 9 cosmic divine practices for the 2020 Great Awakening, the singing and the chanting, obviously, like I said, engaging the right hemisphere, as long as music in general, but playing instruments really, really so much so. And it really takes muscle memory and training. And we have to start going into these uncomfortable places to start retraining our brains. But first, we must wake up to the fact that we have been warped and conditioned away from our true nature. So, um, of course, dancing being, just such a magical invocation in syncing you to the world itself and the movement of the universe spinning around you, as you are rooted onto the earth. And of course, the harmonics of sound, we'll be looking at the aspects of the yogic sciences around it and different yogic practices that we don't get experienced to as much in the Western culture, which is why there's been such an explosion of it. Um, Jumping back. So then we have the Taoist tantric internal energy cultivation. These are personal practices that you do to work and exercise your sexual energy and the chi life force, the kundalini in the body. Learn, because it has a lot to do with muscle training, just like training the nasal passage muscles for breathing. With more advanced breath work, we have to train the pelvic floor muscles to be able to move and control. And unfortunately, most of us have been so suppressed and repressed with sexuality. We've grown from children with atrophied pelvic floor constitutes that don't give us the level of power and control and movement, and we haven't been taught to do these personal exercises. Some of them are very simple, and there are ones for men and ones for women. They take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on what energy you want to put in or time you want to put in, or extensive set, which you will expand as you get into it. And then of course we have the divine partner practices, which is learning a lot of these cultivation exercises and then practicing with your partner, because that's the greatest form of conjuring and generating this sacred energy, is with the healthy polarity of another individual that you have that polarity with. It is truly what divine union means. It is, you know, everything is sexual energy. Your consciousness is the masculine. Think about it. It's linear. It penetrates through reality. Everything that you experience is the feminine. So your consciousness is penetrating through reality in divine union every second of your existence, which is why the act of the sacred sexual arts, divine union, sexual sciences are so powerful, because you're aligning with what consciousness is doing with itself every waking second in an individualized act with the vibration of love. And that's why, unfortunately, the repression and suppression warped perversion out in our society. And then that perversion then becomes, because it is such a great power, it can be turned against you, and it can warp and degrade the moral, ethical constitute of its sacred nature, and the sacred nature of what it is to transcend, again, from the human to the being, from less of the animalistic to more of the being, the higher version side. And of course, all this is leading up to number 9, meditation, the foundation of bliss, of activating, because again, when you're going through these sacred sciences and you're conjuring this energy and you're becoming the divine alchemist, it is about learning to access the parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to be in charge of these higher functions. So when I talk about replenishing the body's cells at a higher optimal level, where they're regenerating every 11 months, well, you couldn't do that if you're operating a body from fight or flight. You couldn't conjure these sacred energies activating the nervous system. That's why yoga in general is designed to access the engineering of the body to boost it. Remember, you're a trillion plus cells that are all batteries that can turn on when you use your breath to charge the hertz level in the body. The whole body turns on, all the functionality turns on. So you could get super deep and complex into the physiological side of what it is, or you can understand it in a very simple way, that your body's designed like a supercharged organic computer to turn on, regenerate itself. The hard drive scans the system, it removes viruses, it gets rid of stuff. Now, if you don't reset the system regularly, then it collects garbage and it slows down just like a computer. And eventually the hard drive fills up with memory, because you don't release all the memory and all the experiences and the emotions, because no one teaches us to do that, which is one of our foundational platforms for teaching. Because I've always said the greatest enslavement to humanity is not teaching us that our body collects memory all the time. And that gets in the way of the affluent energy that can surge and dynamically generate, but in the state of love between human beings, that gets compromised because the body itself chemically becomes a cage to all of the trauma and everything and the programming that they are in control of initiating, and have been indoctrinating us into for a long time. And that is what's kind of coming out and is peeling back the layers. And that is ultimately our focus, is to bring about an awakening of the collective by coming and returning back to these ancient systems, these ancient sciences. And I wanted to put this piece in before we kind of move into some of the current run through. And that is something much bigger is taking place right now than meets the eye. Big changes ahead for humanity. Please do not buy into the fear. Keep your vibration as high as you can. Stay strong. Keep your faith and know everything will be okay. It's a lot easier to know that when the body has been refreshed and has cleared out all of the fear and hyperadrenalization that comes from our society. But that's hard to do when we've been programmed from our childhood, literally, as Osho shares, with absolute lies. But they have been repeated so often that you have forgotten that they are lies. They have been accepted as the truth. And part of that is because the people that you are about to witness that are in control of things are magicians. They know that human consciousness co-creates reality based on what the mind believes to be true and real. This process is amplified when instilled in the crowd or collective consciousness. They are projecting what they want in your mind, so you build it for them. And that is where the awakening has to be collective. And it is kind of equal to a virus. It will start spreading. And so the more of us that start waking up, equally it spreads awareness. And here is the wiring of the system that gets covered in these residues. And these residues are acidic in base, and they start corroding your nerve endings, and they start wearing you down. Both the physicality of your system, but then the programs and the psychopathy of the false reality and the institutionalized lies then start forming, warping, retarding, mutating humanity to not ask more pure questions when interacting with each other. Like this: who are you? And try answering without a name, a job, or things that you've done. You see, that's the left brain. It wants to categorize. It wants to place you in the system. It wants to place everyone around you, and it analyzes. Are you of use to me? Could you be a resource? Do you want something from me? We tend to analyze humanity instead of coming pure from a place of the present, but we can't be in the present. We can't ask questions like this because we are deeply programmed. And that programming and the retardation and the warping to the left brain affects things like this: the secret 144 cells. Um, I hope you heard about the 144, that it's a divine number. Well, in your thymus gland, you have 144 achenenic, excuse me, achenenic, achenenic, achenenic cells. And what a canenic cell means is that these cells cannot die. Basically, these cells are immortal. These cells are connected to the divine infinite source. There is an all-knowing wisdom here in the center of your chest. The thymus gland is the door between us and infinity. Everything in nature is a formula. Everything is a mathematical equation. When we are presented with falsehood, the formula is not complete, and it makes the thymus shrink. Anything that is truth opens it. Behind the thymus, there's 144 achenenic cells. Achene is a Lemurian concept that means the essence of who we are. The electrons of these cells pass through the atomic core, creating an infinite loop, which means that the cells cannot die. They are immortal. Blessings. And in understanding, just stepping back from this and understanding the thymus gland is an overseer gland. It is a regulator. It is a controller. It is a powerful, like every part of this magical machine that we're now looking at. This in and of itself is showing you your hard drive, your supercomputer. And sadly, we're using a small percentage of it. And that small percentage is isolated out into a portion of the brain that we have been more controlled and indoctrinated into. So ultimately, the goal is to get out of this, get back to this. I have another slide. It's not in here, but it's of the actual strands of your DNA. This is what they look like when they cross cut them. Those little spirals, they come down. This is the inside. It all creates literally this. And at some point, we're going to touch base through the broadcast. We got a lot to navigate through. Sigil technology. I did an entire show 10 years ago about sigils. We're going to go into sigils briefly, and I just want to touch base that some of the most ancient sigils were constructed from the natural things that exist in the world. This being one of the most ancient, and interesting that for civilizations that didn't have supposedly microscopes or understanding on a microscopic level, how were they drawing the structures of what our DNA looks like in perfect harmony and understanding of mathematics, along with mapping our stars with charts we still use to this day. All mysteries that have been kind of brushed aside, along with like the concept that we still accept in our theoretical institutionalized science, that there's just a missing link for us as beings, when genetically we're closer to pigs than we are to monkeys. Ultimately bringing us back to this self-practice in preparation for a great awakening, and so much to come. So much, the best being yet. This is what stands in the way, is the psychological war in which the majority of one side doesn't even know that they're at war. They ridicule those that do as conspiracy theorists while being blindly obedient to the enemy. This is the concept of psychopathy. So everything we talk about, it might take you outside of many of those places of comfortability, and don't believe what I'm showing you. Please research it on your own. That's the whole point, is the engagement into that, and exploring deeper and deeper as we get into looking behind the scenes. So we've had quite the week since we've spent time together last. The election debacle, or was, as I called it originally, the dare election, continues on, obviously, with mainstream media trying to both take the right of claiming the winner or the victor, the elected president of our country, taking it upon themselves to announce such things, which it reflects almost an ignorance in both what they expect of you, that you don't understand how an election process actually works, because if you did, you would never do that. But also the barrage of celebrities jumping forward and on the bandwagon, also announcing this, reflecting again, they have no either awareness for the electoral system and how it works, or they have no they are pushing this demonstration, if they're supposed to be role models, of not honoring the just system of our country in what makes it magical to be able to vote and your vote matters. So very interesting to witness this kind of false crowning, if you will. And I have to say that, if you remember, Steve Harvey did crown the wrong princess at one point. Well, get ready for that again. And as I say that, because even the Garden Island here in Hawaii, of course, which one of the newspapers here in the state of Hawaii announces him as well. And of course, Will Smith and other celebrities are posting pictures of Kamala Harris saying, "We won, we did it, Joe." But this is what propaganda looks like, and conditioning looks like. There's no office of president-elect. This is not a briefing. It's a man's opinions. This is called an arrogation. It's designed to make you think someone has authority because it looks like they do. And this is commonly used throughout our society and has been used for a very long time. This is a really good display of it, because none of this is real. It's all been orchestrated, and that is becoming more exposed. And the hypocrisy is becoming exposed of a party that is so dismissive to looking into the legitimacy of an election, when they were so set on that and have dragged that out for the last 4 years. And if you don't see the hypocrisy in that, take a breath and just really try to pull back out of yourself, out of whatever you've identified to and identified against, and really just sit with that tap into that 144 cells in the thymus that actually has a response to truth or to falsehoods. Interesting, and I touched base on this, and I didn't get to show the slide last week, but people were asking Alexa who the president was, and it was saying Kamala Harris already, instilling the agendas you're seeing, and they're kind of coming out as frayed on the edges, because I don't know, maybe they didn't assume somebody would have done that, or somebody put this fact into Alexa beforehand because they were just have so much to prepare in staging this. And then, of course, if you want to look into, and I'll put the links for it, Operation Dark Winter, it actually is a real thing. So when he says Dark Winter, it's actually code for an operation that had to do, and it was developed in 2001. I looked through the document package of it, quite extensive. There's 3 videos for it. It's really, really, I'm not going to play any clips of it because I just want to keep moving, but literally biowarfare simulation predicts vaccine deaths, martial law, and threats of civil liberty in viral outbreak scenario. And I mean, it is so everything that's happened. Again, where's that little guttural sacral intelligence that's that or 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 ugh, what's no. And then, of course, all of the debacle following around it, Bill Gates posting, I look forward to working with the new administration leaders on both sides in Congress, already addressing, looking forward to working with the president-elect pretend administration that's being displayed. And through this, much has been challenged in regards to the last days. The good will be called evil, and the evil will be called good. There was because it tested the faith of the people ultimately. And I want to leave this such a powerful message before we kind of dive into some of the accelerated breakdown and try to get through it right to where I can get to sigils, and we can go into it, and then we can kind of transition into this MK Ultra AI element that we're going to do off YouTube Live, just so everybody knows. Okay, but we're going to get through sigils and a few other things, little tips for you, and last minute Kundalini Kriya, just to leave you with before we cut off. That's for breaking down the ego, neutralizing the ego. In life, you will fall out with people that you never thought you would, get betrayed by people you trusted with all of your heart, and get used by people you would do anything for. But life also has a beautiful side to it. You will get loved by someone you never thought you would have, form new friendships with people that will establish more meaningful and stronger relationships, and overcome things you never thought you would get over. We all have chapters that end with people at some point in life, but take pride in knowing that the very best part of your book is still being written. And I read something like this because I do see a great challenge to many as more is revealed. This is going to be a powerful week. Everyone I've been seeing a lot of through my networks, just people are feeling today, even the energy turns. And I want to reflect that to keep perspective in terms of not identifying too much with all of the things that are, again, programmed in us that we need to clear and work through. So we are here. We're in this plateau before you see a lot of what many of us have been talking about, and there's gonna be a lot of processing, and the reveals will keep coming as the processing happens for this shift. So in it might include some of you inquiring a little bit more. Y'all be having any more of that Q plan for me? And be tested to understanding what this is really about, or still being in a victimhood, a codependency, which is what has been created for all of us to be so codependent and indoctrinated and trusting of the governmente control mind that's gotten us into this position. Because very soon you will see that this operation, call it what you will, has it all. And that all came with the D-class. There was an attempt to overthrow a sitting president to avoid detection. Obama, Clinton, Lynch, and others associated with the cabal communicated using unofficial covert means. They used Gmail drafts with shared passwords, leaving messages without sending the drafts. They could be picked up without risking intercept by NSA. They also used gaming console systems like Xbox. When this was revealed by the operation. I don't even like saying the word anymore, but it is cute. And the other gaming systems coincidentally experienced outages while their providers attempted to delete the evidence. Some of them obtained ham radio licenses also, thinking they would be able to avoid discovery. This was all unsuccessful. So they have everything. And none of it would be initiated on an election year. And that's the part, along with people's very dense and shorter, tinier perspective on the massiveness of what's taking place in terms of what we're actually doing here, which is changing infrastructure and systems. That's what this election has now become about. It's not this is a very real operation that's been in place for a very long time. And so if you could all just wake up and stop doing everything you're told so we all don't end up in a new world order controlled by baby eating devil worshippers, that would be great. uh, and in the absurdity of the statement, can you please challenge yourself to try to do a little more research than allowing things to support what you don't want to really look at, so you stay into that cognitive dissonance. There is so much coming in the magic of what it is. The quantum.gov official website is up, which is the website and the government website for the infrastructure layout of the quantum financial system, which so many have very misconstrued understandings of. But I'm just going to leave it at that. Nothing will take place with this until we can't rebuild the financial system until everything that was corrupt is exposed, brought out, identified. There is great awakening and processing to it all. And trust me, there are many that understand how taxed we all have been, not only being enslaved for our entire lifetimes around money and the fear of the lack thereof, but how this entire process, this shutdown in which the catalytic progression of these operations had to kick into full swing for the great change. It's all taken a toll on all of us, and there is much coming in that regard. There may also be blackouts coming. I've seen an overall slowing of the internet on all systems, including weird art websites my daughter draws on. Everything's processing slower right now and glitching out. Same with my device. And I do believe that there will be a necessary period where we will be unplugged, even if it's just for a short period. Here's an example of the actual data. You can see where it flatlined across networks. This is not conceptual. This isn't a theory. Here's the tracking of all of the networks. Somebody put all of their data flow. You can see where they just flatline and then blip. And then, of course, with the failure and exposure of the news, and then some of the few beacons like this awesome human being who I have mad respect for, even just the way he goes into things that you wish somebody finally would. For those of us that research, he's speaking it out actually in a public platform that's still allowed. I'm amazed, Fox, even, but even he posts something. It has become clear that the network I have called home has become just another corporate media outlet. Its news desk, along with the stagnant GOP, has failed miserably to protect the values of making America great again and our modern conservative movement. Stay tuned during the upcoming months for a series of blockbuster announcements involving my primetime colleagues and me and the Trump family that will permanently alter the political and media landscapes. Make America great again will be a political juggernaut for generations to come. Don't ask me to say more. Believe me, it will be worth the wait. That is a massive, like, I read this today and I was like, whoa. I mean, I think you need to sit with the gravity of what he felt. He was confirmed and felt confident to post about. So as we witness this fall, it is about truly standing ground, even internally. That's again what the spiritual sciences are about. We're engaging you to be grounded through great times of transition and change. So of course, how can I not just take a picture of this beautiful reflection of human spirit and hearing from people that were at this rally and the process with it, and of course the attempted conflict and violence aspect, and how the energy was held of its own. They couldn't do it. They couldn't touch it. You're seeing a collection of consciousness show up through action in a way that is they can't Photoshop this image. And there is unification, and I have great compassion for those, because I was one of them, that are still indoctrinated to not actually be a part of what's happening right now in this country. It's magical and nostalgic of a greater time. Because there are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to accept what is. And so many are waking to what is, including gambling sites refusing to call election for Biden, leaving 600 million in limbo right now. I thought this was really interesting from Dinesh Souza. Thanks for this post. Blessings. And then, of course, comes the full bombardment of intel coming through on Dominion, whistleblowers from Dominion. Congresswoman Louis Gohmert stated that the U.S. Army seized the servers of Dominion in Germany because, of course, it was found out that they were literally all set up in Germany. I think I have a post even showing a diagram of that coming up. Is it next? Nope. No, these are, so we have bombshell. The 2020 election took place under Trump declared national emergency that set an election day trap for the unauthorized accessing of election and campaign infrastructure. So this was passed prior to, which then, of course, sets, such a harder repercussion to anything that was done through the process. Very smart. Well played. These are actual screenshots of the actual program where they're showing you how they manipulate the percentages of any election of any candidate through decibels, through affecting the decibel ratios and percentages to basically sealing somebody out at, let's say, 48%, like this specific candidate here, and you can show his percentages, and then it actually shows that it starts adjusting the decibels that affects and controls the percentage to always be exactly what they would want it to end up being, even if it seemed like they were going to win. And if it looked too suspicious, what did they do? They did exactly what they did. They stopped it all. They stopped the election. They stopped covering it the night of. This was an interesting piece I threw into the mix. WikiLeaks has dumped 8,761 CIA documents on Tuesday, revealing CIA base in Frankfurt, Germany, which was used to hack elections with the malware, viruses, Trojans, weaponized zero-day exploits, malware, remote control systems, and associated docs. And there's a thread for it that breaks down the German daily Süddeutsche Zeitung reported the building was known to be home to a vast network of intelligence personnel, including CIA agents, NSA spies, military secret service personnel, Department of Homeland Security. Etc. reported that the Americans had also established a dense network of outposts going throughout the companies in Frankfurt, Germany. And of course, how can I not acknowledge one of my personal heroes, Sidney Powell, who couldn't have stated it better that she's going to release the Kraken, and I truly believe that she will. She's just such a force to be reckoned with, of integrity and justice. And if you don't feel it just hearing her speak, I don't know what to tell you. She's a Southern Belle warrior goddess, and in a form that maybe the goddesses can't fully process, but I see it. And so she literally has spoken again on some of the few platforms that we can that she's going to release the Kraken. The level of documentation that they have: 10 million computing core supercomputer used to hack elections, top secret NSA CIA operations, federal prosecutor, American patriot Sidney Powell, a candidate for FBI director, said, "I'll release the Kraken as a threat to criminal insurrectionists, Democrat members of the American intelligence agencies and DNC acting domestically to hack, attack, steal, and subvert the American elections in the act of treason against the nation. If she releases the records gathered from the program, which has been used for nearly 2 decades now, countless evidence of crimes committed by corporate criminal Democrats will be released, as well as their crimes against other nations, including election tampering and the use of the system against in combination with dominion, smartmatic equipment, faults in order to generate the political results they want, and shift the balance towards the new world order and radical free left wing. She appeared on Newsmax, which is one of the only ones that is covering some of the content that's actually sharing counter perspective to the manipulated narrative. But in this whole process of how the software worked in conjunction with the program, these rigged elections. This software was designed specifically to do that. And when you start looking into the fractal magic, the way they can fractionalize the vote, and they show you how easy it is to control from a remote server accessing this, this will be part of a massive revealing of both the truth, which you can see the maps getting closer to what it actually was, to show both the will of the people and to reveal corrupt systems that have been controlling our elections for the longest time. So I never voted up until this year because I could feel intuitively, maybe it was that thymus, 144 cells, it didn't really matter. So let's finish this. And yet we're just beginning in the process. I think a lot of it has to do potentially with the 22nd coming up, which is going to be the reunion of, sadly, of JFK, the last great energy and hope that was felt in this country for our people. And part of one of the original psychopathies that was supposed to be completed this year, and that's the brilliance in poetry when you really understand what's happening, of 360 undoing what has been done. So with that, bringing us forward to what we're going to get into, sigils or sigilization. And I'm going to try to, let's see if I can, here we go. So getting into just a basic breakdown for you. Okay, move some of this stuff out of the way. Basic breakdown for you of sigil, a sigil definition that we'll build off of for Wikipedia, just as a reference for you. A sigil is a type of symbol used in ritual magic. Now, it doesn't have to mean negative, dark, satanic, anything of that. Remember, ancient magics or earth magics were aligned with Christ consciousness of the light, and then there were, of course, the darker fractal or darker counter side, if you will. So that's equal to sigils or symbols, these ancient symbols. Now, the term is usually referred to a type of a pictorial signature of a jinn or other entity. Interesting that this is in Wikipedia. In modern usage, especially in the context of chaos magic, sigils refer to a symbolic representation of the practitioner's desired outcome. So let me translate that with more wordsmithery and more metaphorical referencing, conceptual reference, expansion of the conceptual understanding. So when you create a symbol, the person who creates it can consciously put intentions into the symbol. So if you look to the right here, here's an example of a sigil, if you will. These are some goetic seals from Lesser Key of Solomon. So they're very old. And so whoever made this put, besides what you might see consciously, so let's say they'll put words in it. Oh, you can read this word. The most powerful aspect of a sigil is what goes into your subconscious, because your subconscious doesn't differentiate from what's true and false. It goes straight into the deep. And this is one of the deep ways we've all been subverted and manipulated in the psychopathy of them, because they are masters of the manipulation of the subconscious mind. Let me give you an example. Let's take a look at, do I want to give anything else in terms of definition from here, or should we cruise? In medieval ceremonial magic, the term sigil was commonly used to refer to occult signs which represented various angels and demons which the magician might summon. Now, this is powerful to just reference, because I'm going to take you into a pure look into the magical engineering of this. Like we did salt circles last week, and I shared with you that the salt has an energetic property, and when it's completed facing north, 12 o'clock, you make a circle starting north, the 12 is north, clockwise, boom, and stand inside of it. You will energetically feel different. You'll emotionally feel different. If you're frustrated, it's crazy. What is it? It's an energetic, it's like a golden energetic cylinder that you can stand in that cleanses frequency in the body. If you're a body worker, light worker, I suggest definitely putting a salt circle somewhere after you treat someone. Stand in that. I feel it instantaneously. Okay. And again, life is experiential. So I want you to try these things. I want you to experiment with that. So in that regard, there is a fundamental aspect. There's a lot of folklore and story around salt circles and these symbols and this. And then there's the basic mechanics, which is what I like about on a quantum level. Let's start bridging the magic to the science and see the technology. So with creating a symbol, when you put intentions into it, those intentions get unlocked in the subconscious because the person staring at it, it doesn't have to say something out front. Your intention, if you cast it into the symbol and someone stares at it, will get unlocked in the subconscious. So let me give you an example of how this has been used against us. Any of the symbols, let's go. Here we go. Let's look at some sigils together, shall we? That maybe you didn't expect that there would be. Oh, here's one. Let's take a look at some sigils. Boom. Here's a sigil, or a bunch of them. Sigils are anything, literally. And these beings, those that control the world, they know of these and they use them for profit. They use them on you. So these symbols, the person that they have designed these, I know because I was a graphic designer and I would use sigil technology for I worked as a graphic designer for close to 10 years. And why clients liked me was I would incorporate and explain and teach to them what the principles of sigils are and how they worked and their effects. And so I would give the client, a little piece of paper and say, make a list of the intentions you want me to put into your company to represent you. If it was like a health and wellness coaching person, health, wellness, healing, detoxification. And so I would make their symbol off the construct they creatively wanted, and I would focus those intentions into it. And sure enough, I got to see some really successful companies that were just amazed at people, being drawn to their logos. So I learned about this ancient magic as an artist a long time ago, became fascinated with it. So kind of just doing a little review for you guys. So any one of these has a spell cast of intentions for whoever had it created, guarantee, because these are the same people that use astrology. They're the same people that look at the processions of time. They're very specific on them. They may not share it, and you don't have knowledge of that. That's because they don't want you to know. They use it as to their advantage. So these sigils obviously have had ill intentions. Like they probably told you from the McDonald's one, the guy was making it thinking, eat French fries. That's not really good for you, but it's going to sell a lot of products for them, and they don't care. So they're using it against you. So what's the point? Because you can use sigil technology to benefit you. You can use sigil technology for your own good. And I'm going to share just kind of basically how it works. So here's an example of a more contemporary somebody created their own version of a sigil for reversing and redirecting curses. Interesting. They made this with the intention of doing that. So that has a positive use. Do you want to use somebody else's sigil? I don't know. I like making my own sigils, and we're going to kind of explore. Here's some more ancient sigils that are very familiar to you. That's what sigils are. These were crafted by someone who put intentions into them. That's why words are spells. That's why we spell them. Every letter is a sigil. Every letter has a phonetic intention to it. And there are a lot of amazing people, Charlie Freak, give them props, who are breaking down the alphabet. The A, the B, the C. So you have the A, the father. Look at it. It's like the masculine. It has a more of a sword-like point representative of the masculine's penetrating energy. Then you have the B is like the mother. Look at the bulbous, representing life and the containing of life. And then of course C, even representative to the word child, spelled with a C. The C represents the third that comes from the father and the mother. So our etymology is a fascinating, I wish I got to learn that in school. So I'm having a lot of these things. I'm having my children do them, and learn them now because it's magical for them to go into. So we'll keep moving with it because I want to get to our guest and go a little bit into this, just a trip. And I want to have enough time, and we're cutting it close. So another example, sigils or seals of Mars. These are ancient. They're tied to numeric gematria and coding. All of this has been used against us. This is also part of what's displayed with comms and coding that a lot of people don't understand, so they disregard. That has to do with this operation that's at work that we are deep in the demolition stage of right now. Here's some more ancient symbols. You can just see examples. Many of them have been integrated into other things you might recognize, and many of them have also been taken because they had sacred intentions and they were warped and twisted, other intentions put into them, and then those became the symbols known to the world. So they actually have taken sacred symbols and twisted the vibration and gotten them to mean horrible things. Another example, would be the swastika, which was really a representation of this wheel of healing and infinite life and peace and love and harmony. And it was reversed, which they said it actually doomed that process of any, because it was going against the dharma of the symbol. So it actually was one of the things that became the downfall, which is ironically, what you're going to start seeing a lot coming up very soon. So some of the ancient symbols, of course, the core symbols is consciousness evolved. They started obviously replicating the things around us, the moon, the sun, representing concentric rings interlapping, representing human beings coming in contact. These star being all of these lines. And a lot of these filtered in through consciousness from deeper, more galactic interfaces, which we don't understand. But again, we have a great revealing that's not just some short little event. We're moving into an entire new age of discovery, an age of discovery. It is a new age. The concept of the ending and the apocalypse is really the great revealing. It's the end of an age, which you could look at it that way. You could look at it as the magical beginning of a new age. So, what happens when your subconscious takes these intentions in from these sigils unknowingly is it radiates those frequencies out from your brain and it starts directing your consciousness and your reality, which can be magical if they're positive, but can be really negative if not. Perfect. And that brings us to to my little demonstration for you. So I want everybody to try something. I want you to get hopefully I can have a clean transition to this so we can do this super clean right now. I'm gonna probably say as of now, no. All right, so you're gonna get a white piece of paper. Grab a piece of paper, and you're gonna take that piece of paper. I can at least do this part with you guys. You can even get two if you want. It depends. This is going to be our sigil. So you're going to take a piece of paper, fold it in half. So you're going to fold it in half. Okay. Now, to not waste paper, fold it a second time. Okay. So we can do two. All right. So you can cut it or tear it. Oh, little stray corner. Okay, so I have a total of 4 pieces. Now, you can do 2 sheets and have a total of 8 if you want, because each of these are going to have correlating things, okay? I'm going to write sentences on one, okay? So I'm going to put I got sentences that are intentions. And correlating to those sentences, here's the sentence. Here's going to be the symbol you're going to draw. So let's come up with a very basic sentence. I am healthy. Okay. And so you want to write this. All right. I'm going to grab one. gonna grab a piece of paper so I can do this for you. Doing it. All right. Apologies. Thought I had one here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to, and everyone on People for People, I have two pieces of paper in front of me. The first one I'm going to write, I am healthy. All right. See if, yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. Let's see if I can get it to focus. I'll hold it up when I'm done. So I'm writing it in present tense. I am healthy. So now I'm going to take every letter from this, not including double letters. So let's see right off the bat. I have two A's. So I'm just going to cross out one of those A's. And as I write this, my goal is not to see if I can get it to. Sorry, my light is too bright from the day here. Oh, you can kind of see it. So my goal is to not really make something I recognize, because I don't want to remember what this was consciously. I want to actually not be able to consciously recognize it, ideally. Okay, so there's two H's, so I'm crossing another one out, and then the last I'm going to do is going to be boom. Okay, so here is my sacred symbol for I am healthy. Okay, that's my sigil I just made. Actually looks kind of cool. Native American almost, or indigenous. Yeah, primitive, clean. Actually kind of looks a little bit like some of the Sumerian. So I am healthy. Okay, so ideally for this to work, you want to actually create several of these. Let's say you create, let's say that you create, let me do this. There we go. I'll put that back up for you. So let's say that you create 4 intentions. Okay, so that means, and then you got 4 symbols. Okay, so that's going to be a total of 8. So you're going to, and you want to make them fairly similar. Okay, so you want to make them so that you can't recognize the difference. Okay, and so once I actually have my symbol, I'm going to take and I'm going to crumble up the intention, because I don't want to remember it and I don't want to associate it. And I'm going to mix them up. I'm going to throw them in maybe a book like this, or I'm going to throw it on my bookshelf, if you will, for a moment. And for a week, doesn't matter. The longer, the better. The more you can't consciously remember them. And so then I'm going to pull out my sigil and I'm going to stare at it. And as I stare at it, I'm going to tell you what happened for me, because that's all I can really share. I found my optic nerves and my mind trying to remember the symbols I drew, each letter, and trying consciously to decode what I wrote consciously, but I couldn't recognize it. But you know what I felt in my brain? Something else. I felt my subconscious being stimulated as I tried to trace back and remember, because I was trying to remember each symbol. I couldn't. And I felt something deeper happening in my psyche. And that is the message is going into the subconscious, even though the conscious mind can't remember or decipher this sentence with all the letters. The subconscious mind does. It knows it. It knows the intention. It goes right in. This is how you can bypass the conscious mind right into the subconscious. Very cool exercise to see the power of sigils. And when I say the power of sigils, the power of your mind and then it releases frequencies and waves, thought forms in the form of energy every time you think. So we are constructing collectively our reality, and it's been manipulated. And these symbols are some of the ways that we get manipulated and have been manipulated. But this is a power. It is a magical earth magic, like salt circles, that can be used to your benefit if you understand them. So a little challenge and homework for everybody is to go into your first sigil experience. Write out 4 intentions, things you want to manifest. In the present, I am healthy. Everything in present. So because that's how the subconscious is, that you already have it. You don't want to write, I want to be healthy. Well, then your subconscious is just going to manifest more of the wanting of being healthy. You have to state it in as you are, because the brain radiates out thought forms in the now. So that's why a lot of people don't manifest efficiently, is they'll be focused on manifesting wanting to get money. You have to actually focus that you have money. And again, this sounds funny because even that motivational concept was still in a society that was enslaved to this, this taxed currency that was always indebting us. And all of that's about to change. But even more so, understanding how manifestation works either way is going to become far more effective than in a system that was caging and enslaving us. So speaking on that front, I'm going to close out here on YouTube Live. So I just want to thank you all and let you know that if you want to explore deeper, for the rest, we're going to get into a little bit of this interview. Please join us on the People for People radio broadcast, and I will be recording still this interview, and I'll put it up separately. Okay, I'll put it up. I might put it up on an unlisted platform, and then put links for it in the below, in the comments below for this. All right. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Last one, Kriya. And then I got a magical 30 minutes to get into this powerful interview with, we'll call him Professor X, exploring AI hybridized MK Ultra program exposures, and it's, again, this is a time of disclosure and things coming out. So our Kundalini Kriya, excuse me, shift over a little bit here. Our Kundalini Kriya is for disintegrating the ego. Okay, so we're going to have our arms, so our hands are up. See if I can move this up a little bit. So our hands are up in the air, thumbs out, fingers are tucked. They're tucked into the palms, but the palms are stretched open. So it kind of looks like just the fingers are touched with a broad open palm, thumbs up, arms at 60 degrees, extended out at the sockets. Now, we normally would do this in what we call easy pose, which is sitting with one leg in front of the other. But I'm sitting in an office chair, so that's why I'm demonstrating here, because you could be sitting in an office and do this, or sitting in your car before you drive. Depending on obviously the height of your car's cabin. But we're going to be extending the thumbs and the palms, and we're going to be doing a breath of fire, and we're starting with a forced exhale. It's going to sound like this. So it's a forced exhale with a relaxed inhale. That's one style of what we call breath of fire pranayama. The other one is a forced inhale exhale that's consistent. Can be longer and slower. Can be short and shallow. You can play with the range. You're going to do 1 to 2 minutes. 3 you can build up to, but try just 1 minute, fully extending. Don't let the arms fall. Keep them fully extended, 60 degrees. It's opening the channels of the nerves, the lymphatic ducts here under the arms. And you're going to do this for 1 or 2 minutes. And then you're going to blow all the air out. Collapse down, breathless. Try to stay breathless as long as you can after doing this. And you'll be super oxygenated, so you can. Hopefully 30, 45 seconds breathless. Then you're going to take a deep breath through the nose. You're going to pull like you're pulling from your root, like your stomach. You're going to pull like you're vacuuming in, and you're going to pull that breath up, pulling it up, 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 up. Don't do that, though. Don't let the camera crash, because the tripod crashes. All right. There we are. The Kundalini knocked it over, yo. So we're going to be extended here. Deep breath, deep as you can. Holding, squeezing, and we're going to extend the arms. We're extending them. Get back a little bit so you can see extending. And then we're going to draw the arms all the way up. I'm going to bring this up higher so you can see. We're extending them all the way up to where the thumbs touch right here, okay? And they're going to touch, and you're going to stretch, holding that breath, squeezing. And I want you to visually see a column of light from earth to sky. So see these energies coming up and out the top, and then watch them go back into your field. This visualization directs the energy. We have to start practicing magnetic development through direction, which comes with our psychic development, which comes with more visualization and imagination, which is what, again, the right brain. So engaging the psychic exercise while you're doing this is going to be engaging you. Let's go back to this. Sorry about that, folks. Now you can see me way better. So it's going to be engaging you as you take that deep breath all the way up. You're going to be extending still. You're going to draw the thumbs up to touch, extending up, holding and squeezing. And then you're going to exhale, opening the palms and fanning the energy out. And if you do this right, you'll feel this magnetic ripple come out the nerve endings. And that is this energy releasing out the arms down those channels, and you'll feel it encase the field with this magnetic kind of arc that arcs out. So as we arc down, arcing, and then we're just going to go into our breath, what we call the Ujjayi breath. Through the nose, through the throat. It's like a whisper. All right. So on that note, more Kundalini, more exercises to come. Hope that supported some expansion of knowledge and wisdom for you to feel can be applied both on the macro and the micro. We appreciate each and every one of you. See you next week on YouTube Live, and we'll keep bringing the content. Blessings and aloha.